Hello, thank you for joining us. This is Movie Grade. I'm your host, J.R. Alva. I'm joined here today with
Clowny Gigglesworth.
Oh, Victor.
And Jay Anderson.
Thank you guys for being here. All right, so this weekend we had the opportunity to catch Maxxxine, a horror film that just recently came out. First impressions on this movie for myself, I enjoyed it. Although I think it might be mislabeled mainly because I don't really see it very much as a horror film, but it definitely had plenty of suspense, plenty of gore. If you're a fan of gore, you're going to enjoy it. First impressions, I liked it. I had a lot of fun.
So personally, I agree with you. I was looking through all the different sites that detail the movie, and they all listed as a horror, a slasher movie. It is a slasher bit movie. When they say horror, I didn't know if they meant like horror, like or like she gets paid for it. But I'm just saying, like, it wasn't very horrific. It was more on the suspenseful side because you didn't know what was going to happen. So I wasn't too pleased with it in the sense that it wasn't really fitting into the horror genre.
I loved it as an extension of the X and Pearl sort of timeline, where it feels like a natural evolution for it to evolve from less of the slasher horror into something else, into something more subtle, more suspenseful. And horror can be suspenseful. That is the build up to horror in a lot of movies. It's made by a great director named Ty West. He made Pearl and X, obviously. He's the screenwriter for almost all his films, also an editor as well. He has made a lot of great films like House of the Devil, a great almost campy homage to 80s horror. Great film. You can find it on Peacock. He has also made The Sacrament, The Innkeepers, and In the Valley of Violence. I think he's a very good director, and honestly, felt like a great horror can be many things. It can be, it can be more, I guess, active with slasher films where there's more activity. But in this film, I think it works.
I think Ty West paid him for that promo. I'm just saying.
I don't know the guy, so I like his work.
That's what someone who was getting paid for it would say. Jerry?
Well, if you go and ask me, my first impressions of this movie was that it was just an overhyped mess of a movie. The excitement was there, but this movie landed flatter than a pancake being run over by a steamroller. I didn't like it.
I agree.
Well, everybody's got different points on this one, so we're definitely going to have to dive deep into this one. I guess let's talk about the acting. Being considered a typical slasher film, usually, it's the damsel in distress. And this was not so much that. It was a bit of a, obviously there was a bit of a trope that kind of came in there when it came to the protagonist. But I guess everybody, I think everyone played their part as they would be. A nice, pleasant surprise, Kevin Bacon being in this movie. If you didn't know, I really enjoyed him playing something a little different. I think that was a refreshing. Acting wise, I enjoyed what everyone performed. I enjoyed how everyone performed personally. What about you guys?
I think personally it was pretty good. I love the acting. Extra crispy bacon. He looks great. He was awesome. He's getting up there in age. For those of you that may or may have not seen it, Axel F. On Netflix. He looks pretty young and he looks great in it, by the way. But he did really good, kind of playing the questionable PI. But it wasn't overly done and it wasn't underwhelming. I thought it was really good. But the acting as a whole, the protagonist, I kind of like how she went in there just like a badass. Like, there was no buildup of her needing to find her courage. Like, she was just ready to just tear into it. Like, it was amazing. Everyone in the cast did not, leave me needing more from them, despite it not feeling like a horror movie.
Honestly, the whole cast is great. Mia Goth is a great actor. She's an actor who I feel makes, even in her worst movies, she makes them better. There's one specifically, Infinity Pool. It's kind of it's an okay movie if you like weird movies, but she makes the movie better because she's genuinely scary there. You never know what she's going to quite do in that movie. So, but this is not the case, where she always sort of brings her A game, especially to this, since she helped even co-write Pearl. So she has sort of a hand in the X, Pearl, and Maxxine sort of movies, the franchise
Universe.
Oh, is the universe? I don't know what constitutes a universe per se. It's just, like it, because each sort of film stands on its own. I feel after watching this, I haven't seen X, but I've seen Pearl, and Pearl is amazing. She does a great job there. Giancarlo Esposito is great as her kind of somewhat shady agent.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty fun.
There's something wrong with a shady agent. I mean, after all, I am kind of a shady manager.
I'd say so.
Well, that explains the sunglasses indoors.
Yes, and it has nothing to do with whatever illegal substance I just took.
No wonder. I thought those were your pupils. I was just wondering.
Getting back to your point, Victor.
I'll go ahead.
No. I mean, honestly, going with you, I do agree that like the acting was great. Carlos Benito is in everything. I love that fact in there. Mia Goth, I loved her portrayal there. Although I gotta say though, like when she was in Pearl, she was playing the antagonist. I mean, in the first movie, it's Maxine's character. She goes out with her friends, make a dirty movie, and Pearl wants to kill these kids. It's a spoiler for a movie that's been around for years, but in this movie, I feel like she just had she wasn't as strong as she was in X. She didn't portray the strong, independent woman that I thought she was going to be. Was she driven to get what she wanted career-wise? Yes, I got that. But was she a strong, independent woman? No, she had help the entire time. She didn't make it on her own, and when she did finally have her badass moment, it's just, I don't know. I felt like she was more damsel in distress the entire movie than anything else. I didn't get strength, but maybe I could be proven wrong. I know there may be like one or two scenes that dictated otherwise, but I personally didn't get that impression for the majority of it.
Well, she did have her strength, but I think she's just having moments of doubt.
Well, one of the things that I'm going to point out is that she did have trauma, and that's one of the things, because opening scene, she uses that trauma. And that's one of the things that I think she's very, I mean, even any actor always knows that you always go back into what has happened to you whenever you portray something.
Yeah,
so
you live through that PTSD.
And so that trauma is one of those things that comes out in the storyline. And when you see that storyline, and unfortunately, mild spoiler, she's an ex, and there's a traumatic experience that happens in X, and that trauma does come out as she's acting in this movie. Yeah, it carries into this movie. So I think she's trying to be strong, but that trauma's there.
I do think the pressures of her trying to make it are definitely in the forefront of this, where she's consistently being reminded of a quote from someone important to her that's kind of inspiring her, but also a burden to her.
I kind of get your points, and I feel like that was portrayed in certain scenes, but at the same time, they didn't have the gall to go through with that. And other scenes, you don't get that impression at all. You get that the trauma was so traumatizing, it's victimized her whole life to the point where she can't function. I thought she was a strong, independent person. The other scene earlier dictated that last time someone did something like this to her, they paid. And she was all of a sudden a strong, independent woman at that moment. And then the next scene, a complete tonal shift. And to me, I think that was my issue. I could be wrong, and I would love to be convinced otherwise, honestly.
But honestly, there's a point where you can be strong enough for a moment, but you still have to reflect upon where you're drawing your strength from. There's the drama that is kind of pushing her to proceed forward.
Sometimes there's just that trauma that gives you this desire to, like you say, push forward, where you're kind of having this battle of good and evil within, where you're kind of looking for the strength to push forward, because you know what? No, I got through this last time. oh my God, something happened to me last time, but you were able to get through it, and you have this tug of war with your emotions, with your fear, with your trauma that was created from the previous time that causes this tug of war in your mind, causing her to do that, to have that issue. That's probably why you didn't see a lot of the strength. And I see what you mean too. I can agree. There were times that she was just weak, where, like, you know, in the one scene, she's, you know, she has an issue with what she just experienced with a murder that took place. And this was something that was someone close to her, and, you know, she couldn't handle it the way she should have handled it. And then she has another scene where she's about to go through something, and you're just kind of like, oh my God, is this going to happen? And then all of a sudden it totally flips the tables, and she becomes a Billy badass.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it is tied to that battle and trauma within her.
I think she's definitely having a lot of choices at that point in her life, where she's trying to proceed forward with her career, but she's trying to think about what the price is. And it's a lot of the case with this. I think it's a scenario she has. A lot of the cases, she has a lot of people telling her, well, you wanted this, right? Well, then just go for it. But she's having to go, well, you're not, in a way, it's not them paying that price. So it's easy for someone else to go, oh, hey, you're going through a tough time, but hey, just deal with it.
It's like telling somebody, hey, you know what, toughen up. And it's like, yeah, but I'm going through something right now, you know, and I've been told that before. A lot of people that go through, not just traumatic experiences, but like, depression or any mental illness and stuff like that. What do the people say? Oh, you know what, just,
suck it up, Buttercup.
Thank you. And that's what happens to her a couple of times, and it shows that she's even like, all right, and then you can see her get tight-lipped and try to push forward. Just mainly pointing out the plot. I will say that the end was definitely a surprise if you weren't ready for it. To me, that was one of the biggest things, and this will go into. We'll talk more deeply about the movie when we get into the spoiler territory, but just right now, going into the plot was complete surprise towards the end.
States of America. We just had 4th of July.
I mean, plot wise, I can see the story. I mean, I love the fact that the whole thing starts off with this woman just going off trying to make a better, make a star of herself, and the whole time she's being chased down for whatever reason. Everyone thinks it's the Night Stalker, but there's a red herring involved in this plot. And without giving anything away, the use of that red herring is good. However, the reveal at the end comes out of nowhere. And to me, it took me out of the entire plot. To me, I felt like the story was crumbling, and then the twist happened, and I dropped all the pieces to the puzzle.
I kind of agree with Jay on that, because that's what kind of threw me off from the movie. I felt like, and that was a great analogy, by the way, Jay, it felt like somebody had a giant cookie and it was crumbling as they're taking it to someone, and they're trying to pick up the pieces. Everything was just very scattered. Like they wanted to try to throw in the red herring of the Night Stalker, and it was exactly that. It had nothing to do with the movie, had nothing to do with the plot. It coincided with the timeline of everything taking place to give people an idea of the timeline. But it seemed like there was too many things jumping at too many different places, and they wanted you to pay attention to this. And they were doing too much sleight of hand that didn't need to be done, and I think it took away too much from the movie.
But I think the Night Stalker was a factor. It was a factor, without giving much away, there's a lot of side events that go on. But within the side events, the Night Stalker is the overall easy thing to use as a cover.
It's portrayed in 1985 when the Stalker was prevalent in Hollywood also.
And it's easy for anyone. If you do crime, you can easily blame. Like, there's a guy breaking into houses named the Fox Guy, and you can easily just leave a Fox thing, and it's like, oh, it's a Fox guy breaking into homes.
Plot-wise, like I said, it just the way the ending comes out does come out of left field. And one of the things I will point out is going into the story is the practical effects that were being used into the movie. Like I said, if you like gore, there's some gore scenes, and I was like, yeah, some of those scenes kind of get you where you want. If you want a taste of blood, you're gonna get a taste of blood. How did you guys feel about the practical effects?
Obviously, you know, I love practical effects, so I'm always paying attention to a lot of that. And I think they did really good with it. They didn't do like everyone else. Obviously, you know, A24 isn't a big major company. They have heavy roots in the independent industry, and they did with what they could with what they had based on their budget, and they went the smart route with going with practical effects, not visual effects that needed to be done CGI. I think they did really good. They weren't going too far in the territory of Tarantino, but they weren't so shy of, you know, just making it just little drips of blood here and there. Like, they weren't afraid to blur the line to make sure you knew a murder took place, someone got killed, you know, so on and so forth. I thought the practical effects were great. I think the cinematography that blended everything together really worked awesomely.
Yeah.
And it didn't make it look like a B film where it's like the cut and the take is like you have this dummy that's leaning against the wall and it's like they had an overly long shot before the squid blew up on it. Like everything cued to where it's like if it's a gun going off and the gun was aimed at something or someone and that, you know, that part explodes, it didn't just seem go boom, pop. Like everything was seamless, and it was just like if you were there watching it, you know, you would have thought, "Oh my God, did I just see that? That was gross, but so awesome."
The practical effects were great. It felt very much within like the old '80s films that those like slasher films of one comes to mind is kind of like about was a sorority that gets targeted.
Sleepaway Camp or something.
No, that's the one in the camp. I think one was sorority. It's a very old, kind of forgettable film because it's bloody and gory, but it's very lackluster in own right. But the blood and gore there is pretty fun for what it is. But that's the product of the '80s, you know. And I think this very much like kind of honors the '80s in a way. The filmmaker style he adapts to sort of what the story's telling. And he handles the '80s very well. Whether it's from like House of the Devil, where that was a different kind of whole story, where it's not really kind of like X or Pearl or Maxxine, but it works just as well, where even the blood and gore there is very natural, even though it can get over the top sort of towards the end, but that's that movie. This one, in this case, it felt very right for the violence that it is.
One of the things that I really like too is that you said he does honor the '80s real well, because sometimes you see that graininess in some of the scenes, and it's just like, wow. It's like,
I was actually going to put that out while everyone's saying the praises of the practical effects, which, although they do deserve their praise, you know, I actually enjoyed the cinematography, and you know, because of that very reason. Even though it's filmed in a 16:9 aspect, you know, that fits all modern screens, it felt like it was filmed on actual film.
No.
It didn't felt digital at all, like honestly, a lot of modern films.
Honestly, actually, it was. I don't know if you looked into it. They filmed it in the same exact style of filming that would have taken place at that time. You know, I kind of did some homework, kind of like Victor here, and they did. They wanted to have that organic feel to it, so they were very smart in what they're doing, and they filmed it in that manner. So they used. If it was a camera from the 80s, they used a camera from the 80s. And that's where you got that flow from.
And it shows a lot, too. So thank you for doing your homework. I mean, obviously, you proved my point. They did film it on film. And just like the little nerds that you are, I'm going to steal your homework and take credit for it. Did you know that they filmed this on actual film the same way they did in the 1980s?
Yeah.
Can I kill him now?
no.
Need me a move.
Bring my gloves today again.
I know. Just you got to take Thrash out first.
Again, I don't do the fighting. Thrash does all my fighting.
It's okay. You won't fight.
And that's why you're doing so well.
Shots fired.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much fills the quota. I think without any spoilers, I think we covered up most of the bases there. So for our viewers, what is it? You're gonna get first the version without spoilers. And as soon as I can, I will release the spoiled rotten episode afterward inside the spoiler zone. So as of right now, this is going to jump over into our grade segment, and from here on out, though, for everybody else, we're in the spoiler zone. All right, guys. So we're in the spoiler zone now, so we can talk a little more freely about this movie. Taking the lead, I am gonna say, still, wow, the ending.
Right?
The ending.
When she becomes a Satan Santa from hell, that was amazing. Wow, who saw that coming?
And then the Easter Bunny showed up.
I wish I saw that movie.
I thought that was a little dancing devil.
It can look as both. Who knows?
That ending just came out of left field. That was something I was not expecting. So, but that's definitely one of those things. But one of the things I did want to go back forward. Let's move into what we're talking.
Back.
Okay. One of the things one of the things that I'm going to talk about, it goes back to the acting part. We want to, now we can actually dive deep into the acting. One of the things that I will say is I did get a chance to see X, and I did get a chance to see Pearl before watching this again for a second time. So I watched this twice. I had that chance. And after seeing X and what happened to her in X, I can kind of see where the trauma comes from. When you see X, that's I guess that is one of those things too. That if you get a chance to watch X, you see where the trauma comes from. You see how much of like where she's trying to find strength throughout this movie. Because that's one of the things is that like she comes out as like cocky and strong, but she's not. And that's one of the things. It's a facade.
It's a facade.
It's a
That's
facade.
kind of the brand, I think.
And that's one of the things I noticed about her acting is that she's trying to be a strong person, but she is still like
kind of like you, wearing the glasses, standing right next to me.
Exactly. There's a clown in the room. So moving forward, she's trying to be strong. And so that's one of those things. So I can kind of see where you probably felt like a disconnection with her was because of that. And it sucks that, you might have to see X in order to appreciate that a little bit. Because the first time I saw it, I was kind of like iffy. I still like the movie, but I was kind of iffy. After watching X, I was able to kind of get a little bit more into it and a little more in depth, like in her personality and what happened. So, you know what I mean? So, and there are little tidbits here and there that leads up to the end. But you have to really, really dissect it to find out, like, oh, that's what they're talking about. And it isn't until Maxxxine that you get to see how it all comes to a close. That's essentially what happens.
And I haven't even seen either one of the two movies that are sort of tied, because I do know that they bring reference to Pearl in the movie in Maxxxine. I did catch that point. Mm-hmm. They make I don't know if it was just the name or a connection to it.
Oh yeah, because the guy pulls out the article and he mentions Pearl and Howard. Yeah.
So also the X Factor.
Oh yeah, and the X Factor. There you go.
X Factor is very important to that.
And so I haven't seen it, but there's things in there that I'm watching, and just as a movie, as a cinephile, I picked up on these things and noticed, you know what? These are going to be things that are obviously tying to the previous movies, I think, personally.
Honestly, even there's a little fire Easter egg, you could say, from Pearl. Not like with the mother from Pearl.
Yeah. The Hollywood star of fame.
Yes.
That she ashes over.
Yeah, I was
Thea
Varda. Yeah. Varda. Yeah. No, but to go back to something, I think a lot of with her acting though, Maxxine's the brand for her. It's kind of like a lot of actors have this brand. Like take The Rock, everything he does in public, he's The Rock.
Yeah, of course.
So I think of her, Maxxxine, she's the brand. That's why she has this bravado. She has this confidence, arrogance in front of everybody.
And she's Maxxxine Minx instead of using her actual last name.
Yeah, and I think she doesn't want to use her last name to be found.
Oh yeah, that adds more.
And also plus like just in the opening scene where she's like, you know what, I'm the star, y'all should just leave. Yeah, I already got this audition.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What about you, Jay? I know that you had problems with it, but
I mean, I honestly had no issues with the acting in general. Honestly, I mean, Mia Goth did an incredible job for a girl who has no eyebrows. I saw a lot of expression.
Excuse me, you got a problem with no eyebrows, buddy?
Yes.
You want to move? I'll get out of the way.
In any case, no, keep me away from that browless freak. So at this point, she's doing a great job. Kevin Bacon, amazing job in this movie. You can never go wrong with Kevin Bacon. The guy is the veteran in this movie, and it shows. He did an amazing job out there. Carlo Esposito, for some odd reason, he's everywhere. Giancarlo Esposito, whatever. He's everywhere for some odd reason, He's everywhere. You need a sleazy bad guy, he's there. I'm going to hire him for my movie. He might actually do it.
He's been to El Paso.
Exactly.
He's a cool guy. I met him at Comic-Con.
So, that being said, the acting, I believe
I can't say that.
You can. Yeah, actually, I went null with the cussing thing.
Nice.
You guys can just cuss how you want.
So in any case, the acting itself was really good. I did have an issue with the actual story itself, the pacing itself. I found myself, wanting to know a little bit more. I feel like, we understood that Maxxxine is a driven person who is trying to escape trauma. What else? What else? I don't like, I don't know. There was nothing else. And I felt like the other characters, they did their job. They let us know who they were. But at the end of the day, it was her. The movie is centered around her. And if I'm not going to fall for the main character, I'm not going to enjoy the story. And I think that disconnect got me off. Now, again, I saw this movie without watching X or Pearl. I had to do my homework and just catch up on it. And, that being said, after everything going on, this was supposed to be her magnum opus. This was supposed to be her coming out of her shell and being her superhero moment, if you will. Yeah. I remember the hype leading up to this movie was everybody going out there going, this is the girls' Joker movie. This is our movie. And they show her.
You do that so well.
I know. Even the scene where she's getting ready and she's putting on her war paint to take down that bad guy, she did it with help. I felt no strength from there. The only time I felt the strength over there was when she reverse Uno'd that guy who tried to rape her in the alley, and she pretty much raped him with a pistol. That was, damn.
Ouch! 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 All I gotta say is ouch.
Yeah, that was
that
was unique violence.
Yeah, that was.
But aside from that, that's the only thing I felt. Because of the writing itself, I felt like I was given a mediocre film, and then the twist at the end. What the hell? Where the hell did this guy come from? Did they even hint at it?
Yeah, they did. There was teasers all around. There was the slip of paper the Private Eye had that, was it John or Joe Labert? I think that was his name. Kevin Bacon character. Yeah, he had the little piece of paper that he handed, or to kind of like, I guess, tease Maxxxine with. That was kind of given there. And plus, there's the opening of the movie where the preacher was talking to Maxxxine.
I feel like that was
in the background.
I feel like that was the only hint.
Yeah, it was the only hint.
I feel like the only hint. Because the examples you gave with the
all the clues were like even the protesters in front of the studio. Which it was it Warner Studios because it looks like a lot like Warner Studios.
It really does look like Warner Studios
because it is a tour you can take.
It's a part of Universal because they got the Bates Motel, they got all the hinted stuff on it. The set pieces.
They use a lot of the same streets for different movies. Whether it's like Sony used that for one of the Spider-Man movie. Yeah, but like there are background hints.
Okay,
and if you pay attention to the background stuff, there's a guy who's wearing one shirt, and if you notice later on, he's the same person's wearing the same shirt, but you just don't see the guy's face, but it's still the same kind of body figure.
And although I'm on to go on to what he's trying to say though is honestly it isn't until the second time I watched it that I saw more of the hints. The first time I watched it, that those hints aren't very prevalent. They don't really pop out.
I caught onto it.
Well,
and I kind of picked up on some of the hints, like you say, with the protesters because they're trying to preach. They're trying to bring out this whole religious unity.
Then when they show Captain Goatee, I'll call him,
I'm going to go with your theories, and I love what you're saying. The hints were there, pieces of paper, the fact that every girl was like, oh, I got invited to a party at the Hills, all of this, the protests and stuff. That led to the reveal of the group, not the main character. The only hint for him was that intro in the beginning where they show her in the home movies, and that's it. But the group is hinted at. I will give you that. It's hinted at, and if it was the reveal that it was the group, hands down. But what the
But I think that actually goes towards, part of the formula they're trying to follow. They're trying to break away from giving you too much. They don't want to force feed you or, trickle feed you into picking up on these things. They wanted it to be this big, holy hell, slap in the face, boot to the crotch, crushing your nuts on the ground. Spoiler. But
It's called a nutcracker.
yeah, obviously she cracked those nuts. But yeah, and I see what you mean, but I think they did it with that intention, because not going in there the same way like with you, I haven't seen the previous movies that are quote unquote tied to it, but not tied to it, but are still within the same cinematographic universe. Cinematic universe. They wanted to not make sure they wanted to make sure that you did not pick up on it too easily, because then you destroy the movie. The same reason why we watch horror movies and we tear them apart midway, because like we said in our last review, everything's so formulaic. And I think with this, the director did really, really well. Ty West, he did really well in having a formula, but the formula not exactly fitting what we thought it would.
And that's his style.
And I think it did good in doing that. That's one thing that I did like about it, is that it kind of played with your emotions on what was going to happen. When she gets attacked in the alleyway, I was kind of like, holy shit, like, it's a Night Stalker, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. She's going to kill him, and it's going to take a total different twist and change the universe of what we know. And then it turns up obviously not being him. But either which way, like, I like that. I didn't see that coming. I figured a cop was going to come, someone was going to swoop in and save her or help her. I did not once see that she was going to make him give a fucking blowjob to a pistol and then fucking turn his nuts into mincemeat. And I think that does. It plays against a lot of what we're used to as, cinephiles. And I kind of like that, because it still kept me on my toes.
And I think that's where Ty West style comes in. He gives you little seeds in the background. Like, I was watching House of the Devil, made from in 2009. It's a really good, it's almost campy. It was just campy enough as a girl babysitting type movie. But it breaks the conventional tropes, because as you see the movie, you're going like, the more she realizes there's something wrong here. But it plays with those tropes. It plays around with the tropes. He knows how to play around with the tropes just enough to make you think it's one thing, but then throw you for a loop.
No, and I don't mind the subversion and stuff, and I can agree with you guys on that. Instead of giving us actual jump scares, he subverted that. When you think that she was going to be in horrible danger, he subverted those expectations. Great on that, man. But a good mystery, if you read, Sherlock Holmes or other mysteries, or for you people out there who don't read, watch an episode of Scooby-Doo. The best mysteries, they show you just a little hint, not even sometimes a little throwaway line. Oh, she could have been like, yeah, I grew up with this crap, or I know this. I grew up with, I know about this. I'm away from that life. Something like that. The hint that she knows somebody who's connected to that group. Even something like that. And even Scooby-Doo knows how to do it.
Spoiler, for those of you guys that don't know, Jay has never opened a book. He usually has someone else open it for him, because he's too good to do it.
I don't want a paper cut.
The book reads him.
Yes. You should have seen him reading Great Expectations. It was interesting.
But I do also think it fits the 80s mold, because a lot of 80s films were like that, where you get a review and it's just like what you mentioned, Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah.
And that movie's been out since forever, where like the review is what it is, and I don't want it's just horrific and terrible. I'll let someone else explain that one, or you can look that up yourself. And
well, I traveled into the universe around that time, so I love watching those movies. When I crossed dimensions into this universe where you guys call Earth, that's where I really got into those movies.
Is it Laptopia?
Yes.
Cool.
Oh my god.
Moving forward.
Moving forward.
Moving forward. So one of the things too is and it's going to be very easy to come up in this part is the realism portion of this. This is set like in 1985. It is the 80s, and a lot of the stuff that's going on obviously did happen. So can't really discount too many points on reality. I will say though. Obviously, there's a little bit of Quentin Tarantino-ness when one guy gets, smashed and all of a sudden, like, gallons of blood just pour out.
I'm just going to say it right now, Star-Lord, if you watch this movie, buddy, don't cry. It's all acting, okay? It's not real. Kevin Bacon did not die. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I'm like, I need to go console Star-Lord.
And unfortunately, it was like, juicing an orange, and that's not necessarily how it happens.
I think that's what's called in the industry, juicing an orange.
But so, realism, I tip my hat to. It's not 1985. It's not 1985. So realism, personally, I tip my hat to it. I enjoyed it. What about you guys?
I thought it was really good too. Like I say, it kind of goes hand in hand with 1, the era, 2, the filming methods, and even 3, just the visual effects all around. They really tried to maintain a lot of the realism with it. Mm-hmm. I like how they did tie in the Richard Ramirez. Obviously he has a big tie to El Paso, and it's great because it kind of brought the question to me whether or not there was any ties to her because of the whole mentioning of Texas from the previous movie and everything else. So I was kind of like hoping to see if there was like maybe something tying in why they added the Richard Ramirez. Obviously, there was nothing. It just was coincidental. And like, Jay said, it was a big red herring. But I really did like the realism that they brought to it, especially with the filming.
Honestly, I love because the aesthetic of the 80s, like 80s LA, like you see photos from like, I forget what it was. There's a documentary called Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, which is about like the rock or heavy metal scene.
If you want to take a nap, go now while he's talking about that. Just saying.
It's okay. I'll keep it entertaining. And that documentary, they cover like all the lives of these 80s rock stars, and they show like what the strip looked like, and it authentically looked like that. But I do think the realism does work because it does have I'll mention a detail we haven't mentioned was the detectives Torres and Williams, who
I do not envy you at all.
How's it going?
No, keep talking.
Yes, continue.
So, Detective Torres and Williams, they show how it's easy for an investigation of that kind of sorts uses someone or has the primary clue where the primary suspect would be like the Night Stalker, but it's more like there's something else going on, that there is another factor there, an X factor, you would say.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
With me, when it comes to actual realism of the whole thing, again, filming, the aesthetics, I love what Vic was pointing out.
Disclaimer, he's a wrestler, so he knows nothing about realism.
Whoa. It's real.
Bring it!
All right. I have a sore jaw that says it's real. God damn it. Now, first of all.
For other reasons.
No, but for reals, in all seriousness, the realism in this movie is there. One thing that I've always loved is like the background noise of the Night Stalker. The satanic panic in 1985 was palpable at the time. I mean, freaking Ronald Reagan just stoking the fear-mongering flames, riling up all the conservatives and all the Christians. D&D was satanic. Comics were satanic. Movies were satanic.
Heavy metal
was satanic. Hell, even my birth was satanic. But you know what?
I was there. I saw it.
That's how it was in 1985. That's how it was, And I love the fact that they were able to capture that. Like, everywhere you went, even though they were able to just live her life, the looming background, these jerks are all just claiming it's satanic. I loved the looming presence of the satanic panic. Enjoyed it. It's very realistic.
And I think for California, it is something, like you say, very palpable, something very, very unique to the area because they had to suffer through the 70s with the whole satanic panic with Charles Manson, and then you have Richard Ramirez. Like, they never had a stop of it. You had a lot of the whole, stuff going on in the 90s. I mean, if you ask me, I think that's where, Satan's coming to party is going to take place in California. I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, in the end, I mean, in the late 70s, early 80s, around this time, this was the peak of serial killing, I mean, as you had pointed out, we are all from El Paso. Richard Ramirez is a local celebrity here. I wish we had better celebrities, folks, but this is it, And,
well, you got me, and, well, sort of you.
Alan, hey, don't forget Alan Tudyk.
Yes.
Again, I wish we had
Thomas
better
Hayden Church.
celebrities.
Thomas Hayden Church, yeah.
Again, I wish we had better celebrities, but we don't, So at this point, yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, we have you.
Oh.
No, he said better.
That's what I'm saying. That we
Not
should have
trash.
better. It was a burn. It's a subtle burn. Okay.
He can't read burn. He can't spell burn, so he doesn't understand burn.
That's really wise coming from somebody like you.
Thank you.
Do I sense tension here? Should I move out of the way?
No, this would be fun. We could have a man sandwich.
No, I'm good.
I get very turned on when I'm angry. I'm just saying. And I mean, with
I'm
your hair,
good.
your hair kind of.
Let's take a note from X. I'll film it.
Are you my illegitimate son?
No.
I mean, when I was in high school, my hair kind of looked like you. It would fro and it's kind of flattened sometimes, and I had to go a little.
No,
rebel.
it's not red. That's not a ginger thing.
Son,
No.
I divert.
Going back into the movie, looking at memorable moments, I found several of them in this movie for myself. If I have to pick one, like just one, it's to me, it's still the big reveal towards the end. The big reveal happens, and it's because it comes out of left field. To me, it was one of those where just like, okay. Again, it wasn't until the rewatch that I got a lot more hints about what happened, but still immediately the first time I saw it, I was like, what? That was not something I was expecting. The big reveal at the end, you're not expecting it. I'm sure I wasn't. So that was a big memorable moment for me, just picking one, and I have several. But what about you guys? What is your guys' take on or what memorable moments do you guys have?
I'm going to actually piggyback off of yours real quick, and you and me actually share a memorable moment, and unfortunately, we share it for the same reason. Came out of left field. To me, that was the defining moment that's going to give me the grade that I give this movie. To me, that was the moment where I said, what the hell?
Honestly, for me, the movie wasn't as enjoyable as I wanted it to be. So, I mean, the only thing memorable about the movie were all the kill shots. I mean, that's the only thing that I can really say were memorable because they were very well done. They looked organic. The alley scene, I'm sure every man that's ever watched this is wincing and crying in pain. The video store scene was just horrendous, and it didn't look as fake as you expected a movie of this quality and this era to take place. And even in the ending, after the crazy twist and the finale of all of it, seeing the priest go out the way he went out, like that to me was the only thing memorable, just were the kills. Even Crispy Bacon kind of seemed to me like as unrealistic as it was.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool to see because I was actually expecting. I mean, it's Kevin Bacon, for Christ's sake. Star-Lord worships him. He kidnapped him. I mean,
The man was in Footloose, for God's sake.
exactly. He saved the town. He saved the town with tents. But I divert. I was waiting for him to be saved, and he was not. He was turned into Sunday orange juice. And that was the only thing that was memorable to me. It had nothing to do with the movie. It was just the kills. They were great. I thought that was good.
I think because I think a lot of memorable moments are like subtle. Like for me, I remember like the subtle moments where she's trying to make choices, where she's kind of reflecting herself, and a lot of times they're like in front of mirrors for some reason. I think that's on purpose, where he has her reflecting in front of a mirror, where she's prepping for something, or even towards
Or
the
snorting off of one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Definitely.
Totally
the 80s right there.
Kind of gave me a Jones in and out. I kind of started getting itchy and twitchy.
And
I mean, don't do drugs.
I do think the ending twist is definitely memorable because it does remind me of a lot of 80s films. A lot of 80s films kind of like, they in sense, 80s were, hey, we have this movie, we can rush this out and we can do this same thing. The formula has been around for forever. So, twist shock, everything's a lie or something, That's just an example of how film works,
So that's it. For your memorable moment, you shared the same one as mine. So that last one.
I really did, but if you want to talk about just some,
touched.
yeah, I mean, definitely, JR, we share the same memorable moment. But if I had to piggyback off of one other thing, that was a lot of booger sugar.
That was a lot of butter sugar.
Just saying. How do you think my face got this white? When you bury your...
That actually explains so much.
Just saying.
That explains all the powder in the
Restroom.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll vacuum it up, by the way.
Oh, I'm
Real
pretty sure
fast.
you will with your nose and your famous clown horn.
That's not how you do blow.
That's how he does it. All right. All right, guys. So. Oh, crap. You're going to put me in a corner and make me rock back and forth, aren't you?
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds like a regular night.
God damn it. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, damn it. Now I'm doing the ladies and gentlemen bit again because you're. Damn it. Okay. All right. So, once again, guys, I think we covered up all our. All our segments at this point. So for viewers, if you haven't been here before, we don't do things on a 10-point scale. We do things on a grade scale from A+ to F-.
Good, because I can't count.
Fantastic. If you haven't been here before, this is the part where I get to ask my guests what grade they give this movie. So guys, whoever wants to start, what grade do you guys give this movie?
I personally gave it just a C plus maybe. I wasn't a big fan. It wasn't a horror movie. It was okay. The acting was great, which is why I give it a plus. It's borderline B maybe. You know what? No, I'm going to change it. I actually think, now that I'm thinking about it, as a movie, it's actually B worthy because the filming was great. They maintained some originality with the fact that they filmed in era quality film. It was good. Mine is a lower rating just because it wasn't a horror movie. It wasn't a slasher movie. It was gory. I will give it that. But it wasn't what it said it was. And it's kind of like what we had in our last review with Jay. The movie didn't come across as what you thought it was, but it was still a good movie. Hence my rating.
Okay, I give it an A. I'm a fan of the director. Honestly, I like his style and like how he works. To be honest, and also the acting is amazing. I love all the actors, no matter how smart their part was. Giancarlo Esposito had a small part. He knocked it out of the park. So did Kevin Bacon. He glad he returned back to his horror roots from Freddy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and honestly, Ty West has a really interesting style. I love the way he writes. He does a nice homage to things that he loves, but adds to it. And Mia Goth always makes it, like I said, she makes a movie better. And honestly, she's just a great actress. I feel like she deserves a little bit more credit.
Yeah, I'm listening to your points of views and everything, and I'm realizing that maybe, deep down inside, maybe I was too harsh on this movie. Maybe, I may have just interpreted the movie wrong. Then I realized, no, I'm correct. This movie gets an F-. I don't like it. I didn't like it. You barely failed. Kevin Bacon's character is a good thing, but twist comes out of nowhere, and I just personally didn't like it. I don't think I'm going to change my mind on this.
And correction, I don't think he was in a Freddy movie. I know he was in Tremors.
He was in Freddy. I think he started Ken Bacon.
You're thinking of Johnny Depp.
No, he was in the second Freddy movie.
No.
Jason.
Yes,
Friday the 13th.
Jason. Yes, you're right.
Correction, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Okay, yeah. That is one of the movies he did come out in.
That era is filled with horror movies. It's hard to remember every horror franchise because there's
All right, so for me, guys, I mean, looking at all points and everything, and I know I got a chance to see it twice, so it gives me a chance to be a little more in depth when it came to the movie. Again, I did after watching the first time, I had the opportunity to watch X. I saw Pearl, and then once again, I saw this movie again. So it gave me a good insight into what's going on. So if you haven't seen X and Pearl, points deducted. For you, if you're not going to enjoy it as much if you didn't get a chance to watch those, because they are a bit of a stepping stone to it. Although the first time I did see it, I liked what I saw, so I definitely do know that I liked what I saw. Overall grade for me is I'm gonna have to go with a solid B. Solid B. Great cast. What is it? I do love the setting of it. I know that the surprise ending, wasn't exactly what I anticipated, but I was also kind of pleasantly happy about that because overall, it was something that I wasn't expecting, plain and simple. And I think to me, at least when it comes to monster movies, my favorite monster movies are the ones that don't show you the monster until the end. Because that's like when that's what we've been dealing with, where usually people are picked off. This being more of a slasher film, still though, it kind of gave you that trope where all of a sudden it came out of nowhere. So to me, I'm going to give it a solid B, just because I enjoyed everybody. I enjoyed all of it, but points deducted because you have to see X and Pearl to really, really appreciate this film, and that shouldn't be a necessity. Although, again, I did enjoy it the first time I saw it. So if you watch it the first time, that's more where it leans towards a B, mainly because if you do, there are a lot of parts you're going to enjoy. I think your grade would probably be the more sound when it comes to not watching the other ones because you haven't seen them. So I think that's where it goes. But for me, I'm going to give it a solid B. All right, guys, let's delegate a little bit. Because we have a big spread here. I know we got our first F minus. We got a solid A.
B minus.
B minus. I'm giving it a solid B.
I think overall the movie averages out to a B, I would say. I think I'm going to have to say it averages out more to a B minus because a big fail is a big fail with somebody. And at that point, you look at it and you failed somebody. And so that's where I'm going to go. I think overall this averages out to a B minus. A B minus would probably be the more sensible grade to give this.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, all right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for being here. Once again, this is Movie Grade. I'm your host, J.R. Alva, voice actor. I'm joined here with
Clowny Gigglesworth, social media creator and good-looking guy.
Victor, Modern Myth Comics, normal human being.
And Jay Anderson, manager and commentator at PWL, and the most handsome guy in this table.
You take that back. He is the most handsome one. Anywho, actually, it's this guy. Anywho, clowns scare me. Again, thank you guys for watching. Once again, please follow us on all social media. If you're watching this on YouTube, please smash that like button, the subscribe button, and the bell. Also, thank you for reminding me, Clowny. Please, on the bottom, let us know of anything that you guys want us to do differently in our segment or any movie that you guys want us to watch. But even if you don't, please comment the word Hollywood on the bottom. The YouTube algorithm hasn't been very friendly to us lately. So if you can do that, that would definitely help. So please, guys, make sure you guys follow us on every social media and everything that we're doing. And thank you again for watching.